Joyce, we're going to spice it up today.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to talk about what to do when life is just feeling a little repetitive or a little stale.
Go to a Joyce Meyer conference.
That's the end of the segment. Great
That's
answer. No, that is a good idea. But have you ever had those times in your life where you
sure.
just
We
feel
all
like,
do.
you just need to change something or
Yeah.
something's not right? Or how do you deal with it?
Well, I think that balance is a key, and so many people live an unbalanced life. Everything from an unbalanced diet to just being unbalanced and how much quiet time you have compared to how much noise you have going on around you all the time. And in 1 Peter 5:8, the Amplified Bible, says, "Be well balanced, for your adversary, the devil, roams around like a lion, roaring in fierce hunger, seeking whom he may devour." Then it says, "Whom resist steadfast, stand against him." But
I never realized that was connected to being balanced.
yeah, but I love that if you're out of balance,
Yeah.
if you're see, the flesh is excessive always, one way or the other. It's either going to do everything or nothing. I remember when I first started hearing teaching on the mouth, and I realized what a problem I had with my mouth. My solution, my carnal works of the flesh conclusion was that I was just not going to talk at all.
So you were just silent.
So I would just go, and people thought I was crazy. And then I started getting depressed, and I couldn't figure out why I was depressed. And the Lord showed me, he said, well, you're keeping your mouth shut, but nothing's changed inside. And so I was feeling depressed because I had all this junk floating around in me, even though I wasn't releasing it.
Yeah.
So balance is very important. And we know that in every area, from let's take spending, you don't want to overspend, but you're also making a mistake if you never spend anything on yourself. If you work hard, but you're one of these people, I can do without that, I can do without that. The truth of the matter is if you always do without that, you are going to feel deprived, and you'll end up blaming it on somebody else.
And the same as if you just blow your money all the
Yeah,
time. You're not
right.
going to be
Exactly.
satisfied either.
You need to exercise, but some people get way out of balance with it, and that's all they do. They do it too much. So it's important that people look at their lives. Am I living a balanced life? Do I get enough rest? Do I get enough sleep? Do I enjoy myself enough? Do I do nothing but enjoy myself? But as far as when life gets stale, to be honest, if you live a balanced life, it probably won't get stale.
Yeah, that makes sense. Variety.
Variety,
Makes a
because
difference.
you'll have
Yeah.
variety. And I remember, for example, there were days when I could sit and write. I remember a trip I made to India, and I sat in my chair, except for getting up and going to the restroom, 12 hours and wrote on my computer on a book. Well, things have changed. I'm older now. I can't do that. I can now handle about 4 hours at a time. So we have to be willing, if you don't want your life to get out of order, you have to be willing to make changes as your body changes and to make changes as things in your life change. And let's just take a stay-at-home mom. She's with her kids all the time, talking to toddlers all the time, then maybe she's got a husband that comes home and he's tired, and so he wants to just veg out in front of the TV all the time. Well, she could very easily, her life could get very stale. Well, what can she do? Okay, well, she needs to either, her and her husband plan a date night once a week, or she needs to ask myself, what do I enjoy? Like, have a cup of coffee, hire a babysitter once a week, go do something you want, even if it's just for 2 hours. It doesn't always take a lot of time to break that staleness. You just have to make sure, while you're doing everything for everybody else and earning your income and cleaning your house and taking care of your kids, that you don't forget that you're a person and that you have needs too, and that you're not being selfish to meet those needs.
Just giving that permission is huge right there. I mean, especially for moms.
Right.
You know, you feel like there are so many things that I have to do, so many people counting on me.
Right.
But it is okay to give yourself a little bit of what you need in your life so that you have more to give everybody else as well.
If you don't do that, you'll get to the point where you really won't have anything to give to anybody else. Or, even worse, you'll continue to give, but you'll resent them.
Yes.
And then you begin to be a martyr. And you can hear that coming out of people. Well, you know, everybody expects me to this and that and something else. But we are the ones that are responsible to say no.
Yeah. It's common for many people to, I've been doing this in a certain way, spending this time with God,
Right.
and I'm just not feeling like it's making a difference or like I'm getting out of it what I used to. What are some things that you can do to kind of reconnect with God and spice up your spiritual life?
Like, for an example, some people feel like if they don't read their Bible every day, they're going to be in trouble with God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the whole thing is you need to spend time in the Word. So, for example, I have a certain pattern of Bible reading that I do. I'll usually try to read 1 or 2 chapters in the Old Testament, 1 or 2 chapters in the New, and a psalm or a proverb. But if I get tired of that, which once in a while I do, especially if I'm going through a book in the Old Testament that is just like rules and rules and more rules and, you know, how they built the tabernacle and the measurements and, you know, and then you get into the begats and so begat so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. I really have to ask God when I get to heaven if he'll let me, why did you put some of those things there? And so I'll maybe, this is going to be shocking to people, but I might not read my Bible for 3 or 4 days, and instead I might read a book that I'm reading. I'm reading a book right now by Henry Blackaby called Experiencing God. And this morning I didn't crack open my Bible. I read Experiencing God. And I didn't sleep real well last night, so I actually just shut my eyes for a long time, and I call them prayer naps.
Yeah.
And I'd wake up and pray a little bit, and I'd sleep a little bit, pray a little bit, and sleep a little bit. You know, the whole thing is make sure that you tell God you love him. Be sure you talk to him throughout the day about different things. I mean, I ask God to help me with this TV and all the things that I need to do. But we don't have to follow. That's the great thing about spending time with God, Spirit-led time with God. You don't have to follow some strict rule and regulation. Now, some people are better if they do that. Some people need
them on
that.
track.
They need that structure. It keeps them on track. But I'm going to spend time with God every morning, some way, shape, or form. You know, some people like to walk and pray. Some people like to stay inside. Some people like to stay outside. Some people like music on. You do need to have variety in everything that you do. So yes, you can get stale in your spiritual life. You can get stale in everything, really. I mean, and it's really just from doing too much of the same thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is God, even in our spiritual life, he does not expect us to do the exact same thing. I mean, if you notice, there's no rules given in the Bible on how to study the Word.
Right.
The Bible says to meditate on the Word day and night, and that just means to know Scriptures and roll them over and over in your mind, think about them. And so I did a fair amount of that this morning while I was having my little prayer nap. You know, I would just think about different Scriptures and thank God for different things that he's done for me. And, you know, the thing is God is very creative, and he lives in us. So he's also going to be creative. But now here comes the answer. You can't be afraid to do something different.
Yeah. And I think it's really vital that these two things go hand in hand.
Right.
When life begins to feel stale, it often is that connecting with God in a different way that perks us up and brings us back to life, closer to Him and more into a life that we are more satisfied with once again.
Sometimes, Ginger, if I'm like, I have to spend a lot of time by myself to study and be ready for everything that, I'm doing. I've got 1 month coming up pretty soon where I have to have 12 different teachings in that month.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to take a lot of deciding and studying and putting them together on my computer and all that. Well, I might, if I'm getting really tired of it, I might stop, make a cup of coffee. I might stop and call you and say, what's up? What's new? Sometimes I'll call one of my kids and, just a break, just to talk to somebody or how you doing, whatever, just whatever the case might be, I used to have a dog, and that would break it up for me. That doesn't work for me right now, but you have a dog, and I'm sure that sometimes just stop and play with Winston is a good break for you.
Pick up that fuzzy puppy and give him a cuddle, and whatever it takes. And I think you're right. Sometimes it's not the big things that we think we have to do. It's the little things that just add a little something in our life, a little joy for us. And I'll be interested to see how some of our friends are going to spice up their life a little bit now.
Yeah, that'll be good. Just and like you said, it doesn't have to be a 3-week vacation.
Yeah.
It can just be a walk around the block. Just something that you enjoy that's just going to give you a break.